Hello everyone, welcome to my channel SW Metro official channel.
Kody Brown sentenced to 22 years, Meri destroys him in courtroom finale. You have to see. The packed courtroom was suffocating with tension, the kind that makes the air itself feel thick, heavy, and almost unbreathable, as if everyone present understood they were witnessing the end of an era, the collapse of a man who once strutted across reality television with untamed hair, fiery ego, and an unshakable belief in his authority over a plural family that had long since crumbled to ashes, leaving behind bitter rivalries, shattered alliances, and children forever scarred by the chaos of sister wives. The gavel struck wood with a sharp crack that silenced murmurs, but the buzz of media cameras outside the courthouse echoed faintly, a reminder that Kody Brown's downfall was not confined to these four walls. It was being broadcast, dissected, and memorialized for millions who once tuned into TLC to watch his polygamous American dream, only to see it unravel into something resembling a cautionary tale. And then there was Meri, the woman who once stood by his side as his first wife, the one he cast aside for Robin, the one he humiliated on camera when he told her he had no interest in romance or partnership with her, the one who clung for years to a marriage that no longer existed until the betrayal cut so deep that she rose like a phoenix out of the rubble of self-doubt and pain, determined not only to reclaim her life but to deliver the final blow in the battle against Kody Brown. The charges that brought Kody to court were not simple or superficial. They were the culmination of years of financial mismanagement, alleged fraud tied to Coyote Pass, accusations of hiding assets, and the explosive claims that he siphoned money from family accounts to fund his lifestyle with Robin while neglecting obligations to his other wives and children. Prosecutors painted a damning portrait, a man consumed by greed and control, who used the sister wives' brand as a shield while secretly manipulating accounts, misrepresenting property deeds, and engaging in what the state described as systematic deception designed to enrich himself at the expense of family members and creditors alike. Kody sat there in his suit that looked slightly too stiff, his once blonde curls tamed but still wild at the edges, his hands clenched tight, his eyes darting toward the jury as though daring them to see him as the misunderstood patriarch rather than the fraud laid bare by financial records, testimonies, and his own arrogance. But it wasn't the prosecutor's words that broke him, it was Meri's. Called as a key witness for the prosecution, Meri strode to the stand with a poise that stunned those who remembered her softer, quieter years, the ones where she smiled through tears and tried to please a man who dismissed her. Gone was the timid wife. In her place stood a woman scorned, sharpened by betrayal, and empowered by truth. She took the oath, adjusted the microphone, and then with deliberate calm began to recount, in excruciating detail, the years of manipulation, the financial secrets, the moments Kody pressured her into signing documents she didn't understand, the way he demanded loyalty even as he funneled resources toward Robin's household, leaving her and Janelle scrambling. He told me once that I was nothing without him. Meri's voice cracked but only slightly before growing stronger, resonating across the hushed courtroom. But what he didn't realize is that he was the one who couldn't survive without control. And now, stripped of that control, you're seeing the truth, a man who betrayed his family, his faith, and his own children. Kody shifted in his seat, his face reddening as whispers rippled through the room. The defense objected, but the judge allowed Meri to continue, noting that her testimony went directly to Kody's pattern of coercion. Meri turned to the jury, locking eyes with each member, her words cutting deeper with each sentence. She described how he convinced the family to invest in Coyote Pass, promising unity and shared dreams, while behind closed doors he altered documents to secure Robin's dominance over the land. She spoke of the late-night fights, the tears of her children, the financial strain that left her selling LuLaRoe clothing just to stay afloat while Kody played the role of victim on television. Each revelation hit harder than the last, and by the time she was done, even seasoned reporters covering the trial admitted they'd never seen a reality star stripped so raw in a courtroom. The verdict, when it came, was swift but devastating, guilty on multiple counts of fraud, embezzlement, and misrepresentation, leading to a cumulative sentence of 22 years. The gavel fell again, sealing Kody Brown's fate, and the room erupted into a storm of gasps, cries, and stunned silence. Kody slumped in his chair, his bravado drained, his lips parted as though he wanted to protest but couldn't find words. His attorney whispered frantically, but the damage was done, the patriarch of sister wives, once untouchable in his own mind, was now a convicted felon facing decades behind bars. Cameras flashed as security led him away in handcuffs, the man who once lectured his wives about loyalty now shackled by the justice system he thought would never catch him. And as he passed Meri, she didn't gloat, didn't smile, she simply met his eyes with the steady strength of someone who had survived him, destroyed him with truth, and reclaimed her power in front of the world. Outside, reporters swarmed, headlines already forming, sister wives patriarch sentenced, Meri Brown delivers explosive testimony, Kody's empire crumbles. Fans of the show, some still clinging to nostalgia, others long since turned critics, flooded social media with shock, satisfaction, and disbelief. For Janelle, Christine, and even Robin, each absent from the courtroom finale, the sentence meant something different: closure, justice, or perhaps fresh wounds. But for Meri, it meant freedom, not just from the man who dismissed her, but from the shadow of a family dynamic that had cost her so much. As the courthouse emptied, one thing was undeniable: this wasn't just a legal drama, it was the end of a cultural saga, a finale no one could have scripted better than reality itself. The phrase "Kody Brown sentenced to 22 years, Meri destroys him in courtroom finale you have to see," is, of course, a sensational and fictional piece of clickbait, a dramatic mirage shimmering in the desert of reality television discourse. However, its power lies not in its truth but in its potent symbolism, representing a collective cultural catharsis for the millions of viewers who have witnessed the slow-motion implosion of the Brown family on TLC's Sister Wives. To unpack this headline is to explore the deepest desires of the show's audience, to project onto its characters a narrative of ultimate comeuppance and vindication that the messy, non-scripted confines of reality TV have thus far failed to deliver. It is a fantasy of finality, a courtroom drama where the complex, years-long emotional neglect is crystallized into a single, damning verdict, and where the often passive Meri Brown transforms into the avenging angel of the scorned. First, the sentence of 22 years is a richly layered piece of fictional poetry. It is not a legal judgment but a metaphorical one. The number 22 mirrors the approximate number of years the Brown family has been in the public eye, a period spanning the entire lifespan of their televised experiment in polygamy. A sentence of 22 years would symbolically condemn Kody to a term of confinement matching the duration of the emotional labor, commitment, and patience his family, particularly his first 3 wives, invested in him and his spiritual vision. It is the audience's verdict for crimes of emotional neglect, blatant favoritism, and the systematic dismantling of 3 marriages under the glaring lights of fame. The charges, in the court of public opinion, are severe: gross mismanagement of familial affection, reckless endangerment of his wife's self-esteem, and the first-degree murder of his own original principles. The fantasy of a prison sentence represents a yearning for a tangible consequence for the intangible, yet deeply felt, pain he has inflicted. In reality, Kody's punishment is the natural consequence of his actions: a fractured family, a tarnished public image, and a life now shrunk down to the monogamous partnership he long claimed to reject, a prison of his own making, albeit one with far more freedom than a cell. The true centerpiece of this fictional headline, the moment that fuels its viral potential, is the clause "Meri destroys him in courtroom finale." This is the climax the audience has been waiting for over a decade. Meri's arc has been one of profound loneliness and resilience in the face of relentless humiliation. From the catfishing scandal that exposed her profound loneliness within the marriage to being emotionally abandoned long before the physical separation, Meri has been a figure of quiet tragedy. She held on, a loyal foot soldier, to a general who had long since abandoned her sector of the battlefield, hoping for a scrap of the affection he lavished upon Robin. The fantasy of Meri destroying Kody is the ultimate revenge fantasy. It imagines her not as the hesitant, often emotionally paralyzed woman we often see, but as a razor-sharp, articulate, and fiercely confident force of nature. In this courtroom scene, she would finally have the stage, sworn to tell the whole truth. She would not yell, her power would be in her chilling, measured tone. She would methodically dismantle the facade of the patriarch, presenting evidence not of legal wrongdoing, but of profound personal failure. She would recount the years of being an afterthought, the pain of being used for her legal status to adopt Robin's children while receiving nothing in return, the agony of hearing him say he never loved her and never wanted a spiritual marriage with her. She would testify to the erosion of her spirit, all while maintaining eye contact with the man who caused it. This destruction wouldn't be about anger, it would be about truth. It would be her finally speaking her entire reality into existence without interruption, without his dismissive eye rolls or deflections. She would become the voice for every person who has ever felt undervalued and unheard in a relationship, delivering a closing argument so powerful and so precise that it would leave Kody's ego in ashes and provide vindication not just for herself, but for Christine and Janelle as well. It would be her reclaiming the narrative power she lost for so long. This imagined finale also serves as the perfect bookend to the entire sister-wives saga. The show began with a family selling America on the idea of love multiplied, not divided. This fictional courtroom showdown would be the final, brutal audit of that math. The prosecution's Exhibit A would be the stark contrast between the hopeful, albeit nervous, family moving into one large Las Vegas home and the fractured, bitter individuals scattered across Coyote Pass, connected only by a dusty road and a shared history of hurt. The finale the audience craves is one of clarity and closure, a definitive ending where the villain is punished and the heroines are validated. Reality TV, by its nature, is murky, ongoing, and unsatisfying. Relationships fade out rather than end with a bang. The headline promises the bang, a gavel strike that echoes across the plains, declaring once and for all that the actions of the past decade had consequences. Ultimately, the viral headline Kody Brown sentenced to 22 years, Meri destroys him in courtroom finale you have to see, is more than just gossip or misinformation. It is a modern-day myth, a folk tale crafted by a collective audience. It is a testament to the powerful emotional investment viewers have made in this family's story. It represents a deep desire for justice in a world where emotional justice is rarely served, for a voice to be given to the silenced, and for a clear, satisfying narrative to emerge from the tangled, painful, and often contradictory mess of real human relationships. The Browns' Real story continues, messy and unresolved. But in the court of public opinion, the verdict is already in, and this headline is the passionate, sensational, and utterly compelling reading of the sentence we all wish we could see carried out.